Nancy Kaul is a registered yoga teacher and owner of CARE4U2. Nancy's yoga journey began in 2003, and it transformed her thinking about who she is and what she can accomplish. She is passionate about the benefits of a regular yoga practice and believes that everyone can practice if they can breathe and move with intention. She loves teaching because she can encourage people to meet their edge, whether it is a physical edge or a mental one. Using the breath to calm the mind through challenges on the mat gives us tools to use in our daily life. We become strong, focused, flexible, balanced, and empowered, whether we are mastering a crazy yoga pose or following a dream.
Hi, like she said, I'm Nancy Kaul, and I own CARE4U2. I'm wearing a shirt to tell you about that. You know, whether you have yoga clothes or a mat doesn't really matter. Yoga doesn't really care how you practice your yoga. All yoga cares about is that you're present. So I ask you to participate just with the body that brought you here today, whether you're feeling really lively and energetic, if you're feeling a little sluggish, if you're anything in between. The poses aren't really the point of the practice. The practice is who you are when you're in the pose. So with that in mind, I'll let you know that you are always welcome to discard a cue that I give you if it doesn't feel right for your body today. You know your body better than anyone else does. And this particular class, we're not going to do anything crazy. I don't have any props or anything. Mostly, I just want to create an environment where you can get in touch with who you are, with how you feel, and where you can be fully present to whatever comes up. I'll ask you to start in a comfortable seat. So for me, that looks like this with my legs crossed. It's an easy seat. If there's a different position that feels better to you, then feel free to take that. Start with your hands down, with your palms down, and give your shoulders a couple of shrugs up towards your ears and down to your back. Move each direction a couple of times. And then find a place where you feel centered and grounded. Let your hips settle down towards the earth, your spine grow long. And imagine there's a corset around your midsection and you're just cinching it a little tiny bit, just enough so you have structure, not enough that you're tense or tight, but just enough to keep from spilling out. And either find a soft point to gaze at or close down your eyes if you're comfortable doing that. We'll start with a few moments to come to our center, to find a little bit of grounding, to create a space of peace and calm. Start with a big, deep breath. Inhale, fill up your lungs. And then as you exhale, empty completely. Find that engagement with your core as you empty out. And do that again. Big breath in, fill up your lungs. And exhale, side out, let it go. Now come to a normal breathing practice for you, something that feels comfortable and natural. Don't try to control it. Don't try to force it. Just let it be. And as you breathe in and out, notice how your breath is moving in your body. Notice if there's any place where it's getting stuck. Celebrate the places where it feels like it's flowing smoothly. And start to connect your breath to your body. Now noticing any places that feel tight or maybe need a little extra care. For me, I'm kind of nursing an ankle injury, so I'm going to be careful with my ankle today. If you have something like that, make sure you're careful. Now celebrate the places where you're feeling really energized and open. Now start to dig a little deeper beyond your physical body to your emotional body. Sometimes emotions have an impact on how we practice and how our day goes. So if there's something coming up for you today that impacts it, whether it's happy or sad or mad or frustrated, exhilarated, excited to be part of this event and all the learning that's going on, tap into that. Whatever it is, what comes up for you? And how will that inform your choices as you move forward? As you find yourself digging even deeper, coming to the very center of who you are, the truth that you hold within you. If you feel inspired to set an intention for the work you're doing, either on your yoga mat or anywhere else in your life, this is a chance to find a place to focus. So we want to keep it simple. We're not trying to solve all the problems. Just a word or two. Something that can bring you back if you realize you've gotten off track. Now, if you're sitting cross-legged like I am, lean back and switch the cross so whichever leg was out front, it's behind. I like to lift up my sitting bones a little bit and then lower them back down to make sure that I have that connection to the earth. Now take your hands to your knees and start to make some circles. As you inhale, come forward. And as you exhale, take it back. You start to wake up your spine. And after you've made one more circle, stop in the center and switch directions. Find a rhythm that works for you. You don't have to move in the same rhythm I am. In fact, it would be unusual for that to happen. Take one more circle and then pause. Take your hands on your mat, just outside of your hips. And then lift your palms up. Reach them up toward the ceiling. Look up toward your hands. And as you exhale, press the air away. We'll do that 2 more times. Inhale, open your palms, reach them over your head. Exhale, lower down. And again, just like that. Now, keep your right hand grounded. Stretch it away from you. Reach your left arm up by your ear. And press firmly into your palm so you stay rooted down. And now reach your left hand away from your hip so you create space in the side of your body. You can gaze any place that feels good to your head, neck, and shoulders, up, down, or in between. Take one more breath here. And then lower your left hand to your right knee. Slide your right hand behind your back. It can be far away from you if you want a little extra space. It could be closer to you. If you can't reach the floor, you can reach your lower back. Wherever you are, lengthen your spine and then start to rotate your chest and gaze over your shoulder. Let this be gentle. Take a couple of breaths here. Now keep your left hand on your right knee, and this time sweep your right arm up by your ear. Lean over to the side. Keep your chest lifted and open. And now lower your right hand to your left knee and come back to the center. So your right elbow should be on top of your left. And now give yourself a hug. Who doesn't need hugs? You can even give yourself a massage if you like, massaging your shoulder blades. That sometimes feels good at this time of day, or really any time, comes right down to it. Now, if your shoulders are tight, stay right here. But if you Have a little bit more openness. Maybe the backs of your hands could come together, or you might be able to wind your hands so the palms come together. And then we'll breathe a little bit. On your inhale, lift your elbows up, look up towards your ceiling. And as you exhale, curl in, draw your elbows towards your navel. And we'll do that again. Inhale, lift up. And exhale, curl in. Do that one more time, reach up. And then curl it in. Now come back to the center, unwind your arms. Give your arms a little shake. And then lower your hands back down. And we'll switch sides. We'll do all that on the second side. Walk your left hand away from you, sweep your right arm up. Now, as you start to switch sides, you might notice this side feels different than the first side, or it might feel the same. Both of those are normal things to happen. Find a gazing point again that feels good to your body. If you try to create space from your right hip to your right fingertips. Let's take one more breath. And then lower your right hand to your left knee, slide your left hand behind you, any place that works for you. Find your tall spine, and then rotate your chest and gaze over your shoulder. Now come back to your breath. Has your rhythm changed since you started your practice? Is there any place that feels a little tight that you could send your breath to open up? These are just things to ponder as we continue to work. Now keep your right hand on your left knee, sweep your left arm up by your ear, lean over to the side. As we breathe in to the left side of the body now. One more breath. And lower your left hand to your right knee. Come back to the center. So now your left elbow should be on top of your right. Give yourself another hug. Who couldn't use another hug? I think that's the thing that I miss most about COVID. I don't get nearly as many hugs as I used to. But you know, you can hug yourself and remind yourself that you're worthy of love. Once you've done that, decide if your shoulders are tight and you need to stay here, or if you can wrap your arms in some fashion. And no matter what you choose, on the inhale, we'll lift the elbows up, look up towards the ceiling, extend the spine, and exhale, curl in, elbows towards your navel. We'll do that twice more. Look up on the inhale, exhale, lower down, and one more time. Come back to your neutral spine, unwind your arms, give them a little shake, or it might feel good to make some circles if you have space to do that. Sometimes we don't have space. So do the best you can. That's all that we can ask. And now meet me on all fours. Now, if you're in a space that's pretty hard and you have a blanket or towel or something that you could grab to place under your knees, do that. And I'm on something carpeted, so I'm feeling pretty pampered here. Start with your shoulders over your wrists and your hips over your knees. And we'll start by stepping one foot back at a time. So first step your right foot back. Press the ball of your foot into the mat. Actively press into the ball of the foot so that your leg feels active. Take a couple of breaths like this. Then lower your knee down and switch sides. Stepping your left foot back. And you can actively press into the mat or whatever you've got beneath you with the ball of your foot. And then step it back. We'll switch sides again. Step your right foot back. And this time, once your leg feels active, start to float it up to the height of your hip. Keep your toes pointing down. And now notice what happened in your left hip. Did it lean out to the side? That's what I do. Draw it back in. So suck it in towards the center. And then once you feel steady and grounded, stretch your left arm out in front. This is a little bit of a balancing pose. Take one more breath here. And then lower down. We'll switch sides. Step your left foot back. And again, press your ball of the foot into the mat. Activate the leg and then float it up to the height of your hip. Hug everything towards the center and extend your right arm long. So you're creating a long line of energy from your left heel to your right fingertips. And there might be a place near the small of your back where you can sense sort of an intersection of those lines. It might not happen, but just check in. Take one more breath and lower down. And now we'll move with the breath, alternating sides. So on your next breath in, reach your right foot back and your left arm forward. And then as you exhale, lower them down. Switch sides on the next breath in. And then lower down. And just like before, you might be moving with a different rhythm than I am. We all have a different cadence to our breath. The idea is we want to be mindful with the movement. So we don't want to use momentum. Because once we do that, we stop being present. And remember, this is a practice of cultivating presence. So do one more on each side. And then once you're even, take your knees as wide as the mat and lower your hips toward your heels. Walk your fingertips forward. This is child's pose. For some, it's a relaxation pose. It turns out for others, it's a really hard pose. So if this is a struggle for you, know that you're not alone. And you can always modify by coming up a little higher. That's an okay thing to do. So let's come back to all fours. And now with your left knee underneath you, step your right foot back. And now send it out to the side so that it's in line with your knee, with the toes facing the same direction as your mat. Walk your hands underneath you and then lift your shoulders over your hips. They call this gate pose. Take your arms overhead and we'll stretch through the side body again. So lower your right hand to your leg, stretch your left arm up and over. And try to keep your chest lifted up towards the ceiling. You can look in that direction if you're comfortable doing that. Let's take one more breath. Let your hands meet. And then float them down and start to walk your hands forward. Coming down to your forearms. And let your shoulder blades melt towards the front of your body. Let your head hang heavy. Take some easy breaths here. And now come back to all fours, hands under shoulders, knees under hips. And step your left foot back. Send it out to the side so it's in line with your right knee. Walk your hands back. And then stack your shoulders over your hips. Reach your arms overhead. Now the left hand comes down, right hand reaches up and over. If you find a gazing point for this side of your body. Let your hands meet again. Lower them down. Walk your hands forward. You can stay on your fingertips if you like, or lower down to your forearms. As you relax your head between your shoulders. Let your shoulder blades melt down towards the floor. And come back to all fours. And now walk your hands one hand print in front of your shoulders. Tuck your toes and lift your hips, coming into downward facing dog. Now, if downward facing dog is a big challenge for you, if it's really hard on your wrists or something like that, you can always stay on all fours. That's an option for you, okay? But if this is feeling pretty workable, then go ahead and lift your hips, press your palms firmly into the mat, and lower your hips down towards the earth. It's fine if they don't touch. In fact, for most of us, that doesn't happen. You can always bend your knees if your hamstrings are tight, or separate your feet a little bit wider. Start to bend your knees one at a time. You start to work on your legs. And then come back to a little bit of stillness. Look up towards your thumbs and walk to the top of the mat. Taking your feet right underneath your hips. Bend your knees enough that your chest can rest on your thighs, and grab your elbows with your hands. Let your head hang heavy and either sway back and forth or make figure eights with your elbows. So a lot of what we do in our yoga practice centers around creating a healthy spine. We like to move the spine in all the directions in order to facilitate that health. Come back to the center, release your elbows, but keep your knees bent, tuck your chin, and slowly roll one vertebrae at a time up to standing. Let your head be the last thing to rise. And once you arrive in your standing pose, take a look at where your feet are. We want the feet to be underneath the hips, the knees over the ankles, hips over knees, and then stack your shoulders over your hips. Now, just like when we were on the floor and you were stepping your feet back, we want the legs to be active. So cultivate that same feeling in your legs as when you were pressing the ball of the foot into the mat. Now take your palms together right in front of your heart. This is our mountain pose. It's the foundation of all the standing poses. It's the way you should be feeling, maybe not with your hands at your heart, but maybe your hands someplace, connected all the way to your body from your heels to your head when you're at the grocery store, if you still do that, or shopping when you're standing in a line, right? So a lot of us, we kind of lean to one side or the other. But really, if we're equal in our bodies, we're going to create a healthier relationship. So think about that the next time you're just standing. Now we'll start to move a little bit with the breath. On your next breath in, sweep your arms overhead, look up. And as you exhale, take your arms wide, bend your knees and fold forward. Let your chest rest on your thighs. On your inhale, come up to your fingertips, lift your head in line with your hips. And on your exhale, fold again. Now keep your knees bent, sweep your arms wide, press firmly into your feet, rise all the way up, straighten your legs, connect your palms, float them down to your heart. You're standing at attention once again in mountain pose. Let's do that again. Sweep your arms, look up. Exhale, bend your knees, fold forward. Let your chest rest on your thighs. Inhale onto your fingertips, lift your head in line with your hips. And exhale, soften and fold. Root down into your feet, rise all the way up again. Connect your hands and float them down to your heart. Come back to your center, come back to your breath. And we'll do that again, but this time we'll add on. Sweep your arms up, look up. Exhale, bend your knees as you fold forward. Inhale, lift to halfway, fingertips. And now step your left foot back and lower your knee. You want to be in front of your kneecap, not right on top of it. Now you can keep your back toes tucked under if that feels good, or you can untuck them. So either way is fine. And for this first lunge, we'll keep the fingertips one on either side of the hand. So keep your fingertips on your mat and then start to look up towards the ceiling. So we'll stretch a little bit through the front of that back leg and we'll extend the spine. Let's take one more breath. And then place both of your hands on the mat. Step into a plank position. Now, if this is really a struggle, lower your knees down so you're in a kneeling plank. But gather up your strength. Keep your spine long. Hug your navel in. And as slowly as you can, pull your shoulders forward and lower down to the mat. You want to keep your elbows hugged in towards your ribs. Now, if your toes are tucked, untuck them. And start to lift your chest up off of the mat. This is Cobra pose. Take another breath. And then lower down. So either come to all fours or downward facing dog. And come back to your breath. Now look up towards your thumbs and walk towards the top of the mat once again. Keeping your knees bent, rest your chest on your thighs. And now sweep your arms overhead. Come to standing. Straighten your legs, connect your palms. Put them down to your heart. And we'll do the other side. So open your arms, lift your gaze. Exhale, bend your knees as you fold forward. Inhale up to halfway. And this time, your right foot steps back. Lower your knee, untuck your toes or not, either way. So figure out which one feels better to you. And now with your fingertips on the mat, look up, guide your gaze up towards the ceiling. Take a couple breaths here. And then release, coming back to your plank. So the other thing we do in our yoga pose, and it's fine to lower your knees down, we try to build a strong, functional core, one that can protect our spine, that we want to have healthy. Guide your shoulders in front of you, keep your elbows by your side, and now untuck your toes, press into your cobra. And exhale, lower down. Now either come to all fours or to your downward facing dog. So it turns out that if we have a strong core that protects our body, we have an easier time being healthy. Look up towards your thumbs and walk yourself to the top of the mat. And again, bend your knees. Sweep your arms wide, come to standing, connect your palms. Let them meet at your heart. Now we'll add a little bit of a power pose. They call this chair pose. Sit your hips over your heels, reach your arms overhead. So in the Sanskrit, they call this Utkatasana. It means fierce pose. It's a strong pose. So if you're feeling like a little fatigue in your legs, that would be normal. Take one more breath. Now fold forward. Now it's always okay to have your knees bent here. Take your hands underneath your shoulders. And keeping your right foot on the ground, extend your left leg up behind you with your toes pointed down. So this is a standing split. Try to bend your right knee just a little bit, just enough so that your leg is active. And experiment with balance. Walk your right hand to your ankle. And you can keep your left hand right underneath your shoulder for support. Or you might be able to connect your left hand to your ankle. Just see what you can do today. Take one more breath. Now lower your back foot, your left foot down. This time keep keep the heel over the ball. So keep the knee lifted. And keep your left hand on the mat. Sweep your right arm up. Come into a twist. Take a couple of breaths here in your runner's twist. And then lower your right hand down. And now start to straighten your right leg, any amount. So if it doesn't straighten for you, if you're really tight through your hamstrings, that's a really common thing. So don't give yourself a hard time about it. If you're super, super open, have a little bit of a bend in your knee, and then try to recruit the muscles around your glute so that they're active. Take another breath wherever you are. And now bend your right knee, step your left foot to meet your right. And with your knees bent, sweep your arms wide. Come all the way to standing. Once again, reach your arms overhead. Lower your hands to your heart. Take another moment to root down into the earth. Come back to your foundation. Come back to your breath. Come back to your center. Who are you today? Now let's sit into that chair pose again. Bend your knees, reach your arms by your ears. Try to keep the weight over your heels so your toes are light. Keep hugging your navel in so that your core does some of the work and your quadriceps don't have to take all of it. And take one more breath and fold. Lift your head in line with your hips. We'll do a standing split on the other side. Keep your left foot on the ground, your right leg lifts. Let's see if you can keep your hips level. So that means that left or the right hip isn't opening out. The toes are pointing straight down. Bend your knee a little bit, and then walk your left hand to your ankle. Either use your right hand for support on the side to keep you from falling over, or see if it wants to meet your left ankle. Let this be an observation of how your body's responding today and not a recrimination for anything it can't do. So if your hands are around your ankle, let them go, and step your right foot back. And we'll come into that twist. Plant your right hand under your shoulder, lift your left arm up. Take one more breath. Lower your left hand down and start to straighten your left leg. You want your head to start in line with your hips so that your spine is long. And then if your hamstring is open and you could fold a little forward without rounding your lower back, go ahead and fold. Let's take one more breath. Bend your left knee, step to the top, and come all the way to standing once again. Lower your hands to your heart. Now take your left foot and step it out wide. And you want a pretty long stance here with your right foot sort of towards the right edge of the mat and your left foot kind of in line with it, with your left foot pointing forward. Bend your right knee so that your knee is right over your ankle. And then turn your torso so your torso is facing the long edge of your mat, if you have a mat, if you could imagine that. But your right foot is facing forward. And now float your arms up to the height of your shoulders. Now let's move a little bit with the breath. On your inhale, straighten your right leg, reach your arms up. And as you exhale, lower down. Let's do that 2 more times. And 1 more. And now straighten your right leg. Keep your arms lifted and start to reach your right arm forward. And now when you can't reach anymore, lower your hand down, connect it to your shin, reach your left arm up overhead. This is called triangle. Let's take 1 more breath. And then come back up. Now turn your right foot in and your left toes towards the back of your mat if you're on a mat. So you're just facing the back of it. Bend your knee. So we're doing that same lunge pose on the second side. And we'll move a little bit with the breath. On your inhale, straighten your leg, reach your arms up. On your exhale, lower down. We'll do that twice more. Straighten your leg, reach it up, then lower down. And 1 more time. Now straighten your left leg. Keep reaching your left hip back as your left arm comes forward. And with your torso lifted, lower your hand to your shin. Stretch your right arm up. Look up towards your thumb if that feels comfortable for you. And come back up. Turn your left foot in, your right toes forward. Step to the top of your mat once again. Easy for me to say. So we'll do 1 more standing pose, and then we'll come to seated. That standing pose, it'll be a balance pose. So one of the things that we do in our yoga practice is we work on balance. We work on balance, we work on flexibility, we work on creating a strong core. So we'll sit into our chair pose once again. And then let's take the left elbow underneath the right elbow on top. Now, again, if your shoulders are tight, hang on to your shoulders. If you have that eagle wrap your arms. And now we'll press into the right foot, take the left leg out to the side and walk it over. Now, if balance is tricky for you, just let your toe come on the ground. And then bend your knee a little deeper. Now, some of you might be able to take your foot behind your calf. Now, if you're struggling with this, just be playful with it. This is just a yoga pose. It's not an indication of your worth as a human being. It's just a little fun thing to play, right? Take one more breath and then let it go. Let your feet meet. Give your arms a little shake and then hands to your heart. But when we do challenging things in our yoga practice, sometimes it helps us to understand how we react to the challenges in our lives outside of here. To notice if our responses are helpful or not. And over time, as we practice these challenges, sometimes we can change the story we tell about ourselves, whether we made up the story or somebody else did. So let's try the other side. Bend your knees, come into your chair. And then we'll take the left elbow over the right. So right arm underneath, left on top. You can grab your shoulders if you're tight or find your wrap. This time the left foot is the balancing leg. Sometimes it helps to sweep the leg out pretty wide and then walk it over. Sometimes it doesn't. I struggle with balance personally, but it doesn't stop me from trying. Again, your toes can be on the ground if that feels stable for you. You might be able to take your foot behind your calf. Wherever you are, just be with it. And then let it go. Time to move on. Shake your hands out. Take a moment here to find that foundation once again in that strong mountain pose. As you come back to your center. And you'll find your way to seated, however that works for you. And take your right leg out to the corner of your mat, your left foot inside your inner thigh. Now, if we don't want to make any pain in the knee, so if your knee is feeling tender, you can take a wider stance. So you could come down lower on the leg. Or if you have a pillow or something that you could support your knee, that's great. Now turn your torso so it's in line with that right leg. And just walk your hands forward. Take a couple breaths here. Walk your hands back. And we'll switch sides. Left foot out to the corner, right foot in. And again, it can go anywhere between your groin and your ankle. You're just really focusing kind of on the stretch in this extended leg. So center your torso on the long leg and walk yourself forward. And now slowly walk your hands back. Take both of your feet onto the mat so that they're parallel and scoot your hips forward. And then with your spine long, take your arms out in front, lower all the way down to your back. And once you land on your back, walk your feet a little closer to your hips. Take your hands by your side. Feel your shoulders relaxing down towards the earth and your lower back relaxing down. And then press into your feet and your arms. Lift your hips. Come into a bridge pose. You might not lift very high. That would be okay. Now, if your shoulders are open, try to snuggle them closer together. But if that doesn't work for you today, just keep your hands out by the side. That's a great place to be too. One more breath here. And then lower down. And take your feet a little wider than your hips and start to move them back and forth. Create a windshield wiper motion with your knees. Now come back to the center. Walk your feet as wide as the mat. Let your knees knock in together and place your hands, maybe place one hand on your belly and another hand on your heart. If you're comfortable closing down your eyes, close down your eyes. If you'd rather gaze at the ceiling or someplace else, that's fine. Come back to your breath. Come back to that breathing practice that we did at the very beginning, where you were just breathing in and out. Has the quality of your breath changed? Has the energy in your body changed? So the yogis believe that our power center is right in the middle of our core. That's the place where our passion is, our achievement goals, our yearning to be successful. And our heart center is the place where love and compassion resides. Sometimes we feel like there's a conflict between the two, and I'm just here to tell you that there's not. We can connect them. We can create a life where we thrive, where we're happy, not in a like unicorn sense, but in a we're content with the life that we're creating. And we can do that with kindness. We can be of service. We can have love and compassion at the same time. So when you dig deep into your heart, into who you are, start there with compassion. Be compassionate about your dreams, your hopes, the things you'd like to do. And remind yourself that you have that power within you. You don't need to look outside yourself. Now, the last couple of moments of class are devoted to relaxation. You can stay in this position if you're really comfortable here. If you'd be more comfortable stretching your legs out and lying down on your back, that's an option. And if you're more comfortable coming back to a seated position, that's okay too. It's all good. We just want to be relaxed and awake. So pick the position that works for you. And let everything go. Don't let this be time to do your to-do list. That'll come later. This is the time to let the benefits of everything we've done sink in, to be integrated into our bodies, our hearts, our souls. Now, wherever you are, take a long, slow, deep breath. Start at the base of the spine. Inhale into your belly, up past your ribs, all the way up to the top. Pause there and let it go. Start to move your fingers and your toes. Maybe stretch your body long again. And then meet me in a comfortable seat. You might already be seated. That's great. Once you arrive in your seat, root down again. Create your long spine. Place your palms together. Bow your head in gratitude for all of the good things in your life. I thank you for joining me today, for taking the time to nourish yourselves, for getting in touch with your body, your breath, your mind, your heart, your soul. From me to you, I honor that which is your light with that which is mine. Namaste.
Can I hold your head
Use this one.
Okay. Thank you thank you very much. Again, this is Nancy Kaul from Casey Yoga Kula in Brookside, Kansas City. So I also just want to say thank you to all of you, our participants, for taking the time to connect with yourself today. I hope you found some connection with your body. As a reminder, you can access all the conference videos that are recorded at kcresolve.com/CARE4U2 starting on Friday evening. Resolve Counseling and Wellness would like to thank all of our participants, our presenters, and all of our sponsors, MyoCore and CycleBar from today, for this amazing opportunity to connect with you and our community. Resolve is here to support any mental health needs, and we hope you have a great evening, and we'll see you back again tomorrow morning. Thanks, everyone.